He did.
It's just he always take the shot.
Yeah, he-
and have to worry about taking
Right. Mm-hmm. Don't mess around with that, that's for
We
certain.
are streaming and the speakers are on.
And about 24 hours of sleep.
It doesn't show on the flat. I just asked.
Did they change the time of y'all's GSBTA meetings?
It's 3:30.
I thought it was 4 o'clock at one time, wasn't it?
Should have caught that.
Or 5 o'clock?
I don't know if we moved it because we had the zoning meeting.
Maybe so.
At night.
So the condition. Okay. We're making sure.
Sure.
Two things.
Glad you saw it.
Where are the
What happens when on vacation, extended vacation?
Yeah, but they're along these two roads, they're not just on one.
Besides the arterial roads.
It's 6 p.m. Everyone, please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. I'm going to do that myself right fast to make sure. Set the example. Tonight I'm going to ask Commissioner Gwen Flowers Taylor from District 1 to deliver the invocation, and Commissioner Rita Johnson from District 3 to lead us in the Pledge of the Flag.
If you'll join me, please. Father, we come to you this evening in thanksgiving and gratitude for the grace that you've bestowed on us, for fresh air, clean water, a beautiful planet to live on, and the safety of this city and this county to reside in. We ask you to be with us tonight as we try to discern and understand the requests that are coming before us, and that you guide our decisions so they are the best for Spalding County in general and its citizens. These things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. If you would please face the flag, say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. We'd like to excuse Chairman Davis. He is away with family this week and can't make it. We're going to go straight into public hearings. Before we vote to go into public hearings, I'll read the notice. Persons desiring to speak must first sign in with the appropriate application. When called, speakers must state their names and address and direct all comments to the board only. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters being considered by the Board of Commissioners on this agenda. No questions will be asked by any of the commissioners during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
Motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor going into a public hearing, raise your hands. All opposed? 4-0. We are in public hearing. Mr. Doctor.
First case under public hearing is the consideration and approval of the minor plat. Is that correct?
That's correct. Consideration of minor plat, SD 2303 Tucker Ridge. This plat is 8 lots with the current zoning of AR1, agricultural and residential. Do we have anybody signed up, or?
We do. We have one person signed up, Mr. Neil Spradlin. If you would, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name's Neil Spradlin. Address is 45 Little Road, Sharpsburg, Georgia.
All right.
Thank you. So good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Tonight I'm representing Trademark Quality Homes. I'm an engineer and work with these guys on a lot of their developments in Spalding County and neighboring areas. This project, Tucker Ridge, is consists of 8 lots. They're 5-acre minimum size lots. We were just looking to do, I say we at Trademark Quality Homes was looking to do a low-density development with nice single-family detached houses similar to County Line Estates. If you guys are familiar with that, they're currently building houses on County Line Church Road and Steel Road. It's about 18 lots there, and they're all 5-acre lots, pretty much identical to this. That's what we were wanting to do. I think there was a question that the staff brought up about, you know, whether or not there should be a new street built to provide internal access as opposed to having driveways that access the county road directly. We really didn't want to do that. If we were to do a development like that with construction of a brand new street, we would probably look at some other options allowable within the ordinance, the AR1. Actually, you can do, I think, what's called a conservation subdivision and go to a density of 1 lot per 2 acres. So this is like about a 41-acre tract, so we would potentially be able to get about 20 lots on this tract if we did a conservation subdivision with an internal street and open space and that sort of thing. That's really not what we want to do. Trademark really likes the larger lots, and that's their style that they've done in the past successfully, and so that's what they'd really like to do here. And I think this is also designated as an area that's for lower density, so I think it fits better with the character of the area to do it this way. One option that I could, suggest to you guys tonight, if there's concern about, the number of driveways, on Mobley Road, there would be 5, there's 5 lots that touch Mobley Road, so there would potentially be 5 driveways, and the lots are 200 feet wide minimum. Some are a little more than that, but the minimum is 200 feet. If there was some concern about those 5 driveways, we could potentially combine and do some shared driveways right on the lot line, so you'd have one shared driveway that split to 2 lots, and then we could just do an easement. We've done that many times before. Georgia DOT often requires that just because they want to minimize the number of driveway cuts. So I would suggest that as a potential alternate if you guys have concerns about that. But
Sorry,
like I
you're-
said, yeah,
3 minutes are up. I
sure,
apologize.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, he can continue to talk.
This,
Y'all can vote to continue the discussion.
Oh, I thought he was making a presentation for this.
when we go into our discussion, we can call them
He's
back
the
up.
applicant, so.
So we don't tell the applicant he has only 3 minutes to speak.
Do y'all want to,
He's,
y'all want to
yeah,
let
he
him go?
wasn't under the public hearing, but since he's.
Right.
Yeah,
This is him signing up to speak in the public hearing.
Okay,
So we can call him back if we have.
that's fine. We
okay.
can continue.
Do we want to just go straight into that since he's standing there?
Yeah.
He's right here. I'm gonna-
Okay. Because Because during that part, we get to ask him questions.
Right.
Right now, he gets 3 minutes to pontificate as he wants, and then.
You're right.
All right, sorry, you can continue from there, sorry. Now, well,
Right.
should we come out of public hearing first?
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Second.
All right, having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
Was there any other person signed up to speak in
ma'am.
public hearing? Okay, no.
All right, all in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, 4-0, we're out of public session. Now, we can just chat with you.
Okay,
All right, we gotta follow the rules, right?
right.
So I'm looking at the plat in the folder here.
Right.
If I could. And plat number 7, my eyes aren't where they used to be, but that's certainly a 1 in front of the road frontage. 166, maybe?
Mm-hmm,
You see it?
yeah.
I'm looking at a different page, I
It may
think.
be the last page, Ms. Captain. Yeah.
Is this page 11 in our agenda package? Packet?
Yeah, it's the last
Yep,
page.
that's it
That's
right
what it
there.
is.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
So if you zoom in there on 7, where it hits Mobley Road, that looks like a 166. And that's concerning. And a little bit to the
I'm going.
east.
Yep.
Yeah, you see it?
Mhm.
That is a 166. See?
Well, when you're driving a car,
That-
you know, at 50 miles an hour, 200 feet can get eaten up really fast.
Well, sure, but if it's not, the zoning requires a 200-foot road frontage.
Can I explain that?
Sure.
That dimension, 166, is just a part of that total frontage. You have to add that 33.46 to get the total width of that lot. Because the right-of-way has a little kink in it right there, so that's why the surveyor,
Oh, I see, that's from point to point, not
yes,
lot to
that's
lot.
right.
So
So
it's
the
actually
total width of it
204.
is 200 feet.
200, yeah, 200.
Oh, I see, okay, all right.
That's right.
That's kind of hard, yeah, that's kind of deceiving there, but yeah, okay, I'm with you now.
It is.
All right, y'all got any questions for him?
I do, and I will share my concern as I have each time that we've had this type of zoning. I get it that these are large lots, but they're long lots. And when people are driving on these streets, if the speed limit is 40, they're doing 50, 55. And I was out earlier this week at McIntosh, East McIntosh, where they're building single homes on larger lots. But the people across the street had called because there was no sight distance from the roadway because of the way it's in the curve. And of course, we didn't look at that, and we may have looked at it, but I have the same problem. There's no houses there yet, but once houses, there are gonna be cars. We count at least 2 cars. You know, if they got kids, maybe more. I just have a concern about having a road where the speed limit is that much, and then people are gonna be pulling in and out of their driveway. And if it's 5 driveways, you know, we just need to, I think it needs to be fixed.
So let me ask you this, because he mentioned the double driveway, or the sharing of the driveway. Is that something we would want to consider? If that's what
We've
they
run
can
into
do?
other issues with, like, shared driveways, you know, where everything starts fine and then somebody sells one of the houses
Yeah.
and the new neighbor's like, I'm not paying for nothing, you know, and it kind of
I
gets
really
into-
don't, I really don't like how that looks anyway.
Yeah, like, we've got it
I don't
out in
like how
Ryan's
that-
district, several of those, and
That,
like,
you know,
Well, I mean,
They can turn into bad
I've seen
situations.
those in Ryan's district. I've not had a personal experience, maybe you guys have as having done this zoning, but, you know, as far as people not doing what they want, what they think they should do further down the road. If this is your driveway, this is your driveway. I'm in it. But, you know, we want these developments, but, you know, if we don't help them to be able, we don't require them to have ingress and egress. So we're just saying, just pull out and hope you don't, a 45-mile-an-hour car don't smash you. So, you know, our ordinance does not deal with this, but since this is a thing, you know, we have options. We have the, you know, shared driveway, or we could, you know, if this is we're calling this a minor subdivision just because all the lots face the road, it's still a village. So do we start saying, yeah, if you've got, 4 or 5 lots together, you need to create an access road that will give all of y'all access to your property. I just think in looking at it from the safety standpoint, if this is how we're gonna move forward, we're gonna run into problems later, like we do out at Brightmore.
Well, that's what I just brought up with Dr. Ledbetter. I've seen in Henry County, it's literally an access road. It's like sort of 2 driveways that then has a road, and then you put like a sidewalk on that. You know what I mean? But then only the residents are really going to use that road and like the
Right.
mailmen. You know what I'm saying? And so the kids have a place to ride their bikes, this kind of stuff, and it actually adds kind of an amenity to it. But if you did it as a long shared driveway that would go from 8 to 4, then you're going to run into all kinds of problems because, hey, that pothole here, you're not filling it up and everyone's mad at you because everybody's using it. You know what I mean?
Well, I
But
mean,
so
if
you
it's
have
a-
to do it as an access road.
Well, I'm saying that
You
would
know?
basically be it, and at some point, I'm sure, just like every other road, it will be turned over to us. For maintenance, but it will allow vehicles to get off of the roadway
Yeah.
or get onto the roadway without having to worry about somebody coming along beside them and smashing
yeah.
into their car, their
Right.
kid's car. So that's been my concern with these developments all along. I know we want larger lots, but we also need to think about people's safety.
Sure.
Public
Yeah,
safety.
that's a big piece.
What does the zoning, what is the rule as far as that? I know that we've talked about curb cuts a lot before, but do we have any sort of rule when it comes to that?
Well, the purpose of this particular zoning is, is to allow these larger type lots, because what we have to see is, this is potentially a different demographic
Yeah.
than what you would have with younger families wanting smaller lots, with children, what have you. These are folks that are trying to get away from the hustle and bustle, because you're dealing with 5 acres, 4 acres, 6 acres. This is a kind of a different animal than if they were to make this 50 lots.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a different demographic, a different buyer.
Yeah, and there are already 6 curb cuts on the road, and so I'm really not super worried about adding. It already is a residential road. It already is there's already 6 curb cuts on both the top of the road and the bottom. I don't know if y'all have a copy of this one, but
Yes.
every one of those blue squares. So I mean, just on this page, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 curb cuts already. You know what I mean? So, if this was, a major thoroughfare where people weren't going to and from their houses, you know what I'm saying? If this was a cut through, if this,
Is this a dead-end street?
no, but it is a residential street, you know what I'm saying? It's
But
not
it's
High
a
Falls Road that people are using as.
Right, it's a county road, so the speed
Yeah,
limit's
sure.
45 and
Yeah.
above. So and I mean, from Birdie Road to, is it gonna be McIntosh or Jordan Hill? Which street is that? Teeman, that actually dead ends, runs into?
Mobley?
This is Burton Road on the.
No, this
on
is-
the-
this is
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
Birdie
Birdie's
side.
on the south, and
Turns
then,
into dirt and goes back out to 1941.
yeah, and it loops back into 1941, yeah.
So, my point being, it's not a good fit, but, at what point do we,
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of these. I know we've had at least 5 of these in the last 3 or 4 zoning hearings. And we need to make a determination about it so that,
But we can't just say, well, this one's too much, that one's too little,
yeah, you can.
But we need to have a metric. We need to
Well,
come
yeah,
up with a
I
metric,
understand
right? To say, you could do something like, only this many curb cuts per whatever, based on how many cars go down the road. If more
Yeah.
cars are traveling past it, then you should have less curb cut. You know what I'm saying? But we can't just say, no, our gut tells us it's too many curb cuts. You know what I'm
So-
saying? We gotta create some kind of metric.
So, yeah, and saying that, just because I know you were using it as just an example, we get people who talk about traffic in the neighborhood. It's the school bus traffic, it's the 2 kids per car. You can't just say that it's gonna be 2 cars at each house and that's what it's
true.
gonna be. I mean, if already you have 300 cars traveling that road to
Right.
get from whatever
Yeah, people are
elder
using it as a
to-
cut through, and
So,
it's, you know.
absolutely, so that is, I mean, all of that needs to be addressed, but I think singularly, if we have decided that it is not our goal on a road, a county road where the speed limit is 45 and above, that it is not safe, or that the curvature of the road does not work with vision, allowing distance, I think those things have to be looked at with each individual. I mean, I think going across the board and saying, okay, this doesn't work. Having it straight is a problem, but when you have curves in the road, that adds another dimension to it. So,
Or like hills and stuff. The road looks relatively straight. There is kind of the one curve there at the top
There's
of
a
it.
little curve.
But like, you know, I don't know what the topographical situation is, if it goes up and down.
And just
Ryan?
being familiar with the area here, as close as it is to the intersection, you're gonna have people knowing to slow down. That curve right there, I mean, I've been in 1080s, but hell, you couldn't do 45, 50 mile an hour in that curve without losing it, so you gotta slow down for that curve there at Elder. So, I mean, I don't see the speed bit, but like if this was on 16 highway or
Yeah,
92 or something,
right.
I would definitely, I couldn't do it, I mean.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
gonna have to come up with a game plan and kind of keep everything same across the board with it.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about the 3 over on Patterson. They're going to be spread out enough because those are the largest, widest road frontages, you know. So,
but there are
and it's
already
also on a big
existing
straightaway.
residents, yeah, on the
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
street.
Whereas Mobley, like you have like the 3 or 4 curb cuts that are right there before you get to Birdie. So, you know, but it's got 5, and
Yeah.
they're relatively close together. That said, without we create some sort of metric, then it's sort of a gut check sliding scale. I don't know if that's quite.
But we do need to have something established, like we said, if we have
Yeah.
more of these coming, then
Yeah.
we probably need to kind of, like Gwen said, and I think Steve's shaking his head, to
Yeah,
have
can we-
something in place.
Can we direct staff to like, how do we measure this? How do we?
Well, we've
create
already
something?
started.
Great. See that?
Commissioner Flowers, you had tasked us with that a couple months ago, so we are looking into seeing what can be done. We just don't have an answer just yet, but we are definitely looking into it.
So in the meantime.
Right,
Are the
right
little yellow
now,
things on here fire hydrants?
Yeah.
The little yellow mark for that fire hydrant?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I don't know that those fire hydrants are 500 feet apart, are they?
That is a part of Captain White's job now, is to make sure that they are 500 feet apart.
Right.
We do have some fire hydrants that the Water Authority has in inventory that they're making available for infill. So we are making sure that our developers are installing these fire hydrants at 500-foot intervals, especially for these larger lots, because we want to make sure that we're taking care of the safety of our citizens that are moving in.
One's there,
I would feel more
wouldn't need
inclined
one,
to approve the request for lots 1, 2, and 3, and, you know,
And then
then wait for them
condition
to come.
4 through 8
Come
on.
back with something different that will not, you know, whether it's a way to do a used driveway, or whether or not they can make them a frontage road that will give them off-road access, but I'm not comfortable adding those additional curb cuts to that side that's already there. That's just me.
if you
And,
want to put Commissioner, if you want to put a requirement in to address curb cuts, we need to have that in the ordinance to apply prospectively.
Okay,
Right now,
We
this
don't have
plat satisfies the requirements for a minor subdivision.
Yeah.
Now, in recent history, y'all have approved last month Hardy Moore, which is road frontage, 5-acre plus lots. The worst one that y'all have approved is Jenna's property on Williamson Road.
and I
where
hate that.
Road frontage lots were allowed on a state highway with authority from DOT for I think there are 6 lots that front with 3 driveways. All right. If there was one that should have had an interior road, it should have been that one.
But it's not a DOT, we can't tell DOT what to have off of their state road.
No, but.
But if we
they-
have a zoning restriction as far
That
as
is
curb cuts,
correct.
we can apply it.
Now,
And we currently don't have that, so
on
we
rural
can't really
roads
apply it.
like this, you're probably not gonna, this is, to me, when I looked at it, I looked at this as Hardy Moore, except
Yeah.
Hardy's dirt. And this complies with the requirements of AR1. It exceeds the requirements of AR1. So.
agree.
For AR1 for what? Road frontage?
It meets road frontage, exceeds lot size.
Which is 3 acres.
Correct. Now, again, and I could see a regulation, like Charles was saying, that, and like you were referencing, that addresses larger size road frontage or greater road frontage if you're dealing with a curve, or you're dealing with topography. And we can do criteria to identify that, but we don't have it in the code now.
I think we, in my opinion, I think this is the sort of growth, large lot size, large house size, large road frontage, that is exactly what Spalding County is looking for. This is the kind of, lot that I wanted to get when I was looking to buy a house, and if I was in the market, this is the kind of stuff I'd be looking for. So, that was in my 20s, in my 30s, and now in my 40s. I get to say this is the kind of stuff that me and all of my demographic, us young folks, are looking for. So,
Well, to hear staff say that if this meets the criteria, that's
Yeah.
what I look at, it meets the criteria of the
Yeah.
minor subdivision. That's what I'm looking at.
but I do think that we, the staff has that direction to like figure out, especially to Commissioner Flower Sailor's point, is like around topographical issues, whether it's up, down, or, curbs, or, you know what I'm saying?
Sight distance.
Yeah. It's sight distance to curb cuts maybe, or,
Because they could probably do something different with this and, create lots if there were roads on the inside. I would almost feel better about it being a conservation subdivision because there would be just a driveway that would take you in. And this is part of the problem I've had with our minor subdivisions, even since Chad was here. We just say that if you're 4 or 5 or 7, you
You're a
can be a
subdivision.
minor subdivision,
Yeah.
and you don't have any of the requirements that we place on any other type of subdivision. And subdivision is a subdivision.
That's true.
That's just been my thought processes. So while I know that we're saying these are larger lots, but they all have road frontage, we would have more surety that we're following in the game plan that we have planned for the county by asking them to make this a conservation subdivision, because that will give you, it will give you sidewalks on the front, but it'll also give you a road on the inside where everybody can have their own driveway, and it is completely off of the road. So, and I know we have the option to,
It will give you a lot more lots.
yeah, and.
Well, I think he said.
I'm not mad about that. I'm mad about people driving out on the road and, yeah.
Everything's a trade-off.
That's where I see your point, and I understand you completely, but to me, there's a difference between a subdivision, which is like a Kleenex, you know what I'm saying? Like that's sort of the brand name that we are now applied to everything, and a subdividing. You know what I'm saying? This is a big lot, or 2 big lots I guess it is 1 big lot, that they're subdividing into
Which
multiple
makes
other
it
big
into a
lots.
subdivision.
Well, but when
That's-
when I hear
that's
the
how you
word
determine
subdivision,
what it
I
is.
think Coldwater Creek, I think Waterford, I think like
I
there's
know
a
you
there's an
think
interim
that,
one.
but we on our books,
Right.
we
Sure.
have that there
Right.
is a subdivision with under 10 units, and then there are subdivisions that are multiple of. And so
Right.
part of the rub has been for us is that when people come in and say, I want a conservation subdivision, or I want a da-da-da-da-da, you need green space, you need amenities, you need some sidewalks, blah, 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 blah. But if you put 8 houses out there in a subdivision, we don't require them to do anything that we require the others to do in a subdivision. So for me, I hear what Newton's saying, that we don't have it on paper. I don't know how soon we'll have it on paper, but it's not ready. So I don't, this is not a situation where I feel like we as a board are bound to do this just because it meets the criteria. Because if in our minds, we have a different goal, that we want to see this coming back looking like something else with one driveway going in, then that's a request
And I think that's
from
what
us.
I think that's the part that is hard of what you're saying. You said, but because it does meet the criteria,
Yeah.
makes it hard to say, okay, no, because it does meet the criteria. I think it's up to us to change that if that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna do. But right now, if it meets the criteria, it's kind of hard to say, well, no, because we're saying, well, no, when it does. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a hard time with doing it.
Holding them
Based
back
on what am I
because-
basing that on?
Right.
Yeah,
but-
holding them back because they don't meet future criteria that we're going to set,
Right.
like,
Well, no, but I'm saying we have some choices about what we want to see driveways look like. And that is including with not saying that you can't approve this. But I'm saying that when we say that you just did Hardy Lane and now you just did this one, you have started a priority of what is important to you.
Okay, so let's look at what's coming down the pipeline. Okay, so we said that we had one down last month.
Last month you did Hardy
Right.
Moore, that Hardy Road, Moore Road. You also did Hamel Road. That was also a minor subdivision in, 10-acre lots, I believe, Charles?
So what do we have coming up?
I mean, but the road frontage on that was
I'm not
about
aware of any
400.
new ones coming up.
Not immediately.
So we've got some time to kind of,
That,
distance between the
again,
roads.
if the, I understand the concern safety, I got that. I understand the concern is also aesthetics and how you do curb cuts. You can draft an ordinance, subject to Charles agreeing with this, you can draft an ordinance that applies, for example, different road frontages dependent upon your topography and curvature. You can put requirements in here for lot, road frontage, okay? But we don't have them now.
Right.
And what Mr. Spradlin has done, I assume, is take the criteria that we've got in the code now and followed it.
yeah, that's,
I would be concerned about putting restrictions on Mr. Spradlin and trademarks development when we have not yet done something similar to these others that have just gone through. But now, the issue, Commissioner Flowers-Taylor, that you want to address can be addressed. But I suspect, you said there's not anything coming urgent.
Not immediately, no.
And this is, and one of the most pleasant things about this is you're not having a fight over subdivision density of development,
Yeah.
okay? There's no maddening crowd to appear to gripe about the number of houses. So this can be improved, road frontage can be improved, safety issues can be improved, but we need to have the ordinance to do it. And I
agree.
would
We don't
urge
have it
y'all,
now.
give us a laundry list of what you want to see. And then let us work, let Charles, Eva, and myself work together and get a draft ordinance for you to review in about 30 to 60 days.
So
That's what you want.
does anyone have an appetite? I know this is not the question that needs to be called, but I'm thinking we need a moratorium. Because while we don't have anything on the books, that makes it clear that if anything comes in on the books
Right.
before we get an ordinance,
Moratorium on curb cuts until.
no, just on,
Minor subdivision.
minor subdivision,
And
until we
understand-
figure out how it's gonna
A
look.
subdivision is a subdivision as we define it. The reason you have minor versus regular subdivisions is requirements for infrastructure. If the folks don't come in and need infrastructure improvements, they don't have to do new roads and they can still meet the criteria, then we allow them to go through without the scrutiny and the obligations they have to address other issues. So, but it is still a subdivision.
Yeah,
It is an estate-sized subdivision. And if you look on your plat, look on the design or the layout that Mr. Spradlin submitted, if you will look down toward Birdie Road, you see what we used to allow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't see that.
Well, it's on this,
This-
check it out.
Okay.
slide.
Have you seen those?
like on the frontage of Birdie Road.
This one,
Get right there.
just the curb cut number each.
Those are probably 1 acre lots.
Yeah,
I think they're smaller than an
Probably.
acre.
I mean, but these are lots that probably have been here since the 30s and the
Since I was a
40s.
child.
Okay, so there was no zoning even then.
Well, there was
So-
when I was a child.
No,
There was.
I think it was just you were born before 1960, weren't you?
Yes, but I mean.
Okay, it was no
okay,
zone
Since
before.
I have memory,
Okay.
because we had the first ordinance in 62, but even
That's what I'm
then you
saying.
could put a house next to a toxic waste dump and it was
So,
allowed
so,
in what
so we
call
can't really
M1.
reference Birdie Road that we have allowed this because this is just what it's been. It's not something that we did.
That's correct.
So,
That's
so
what
yeah,
I'm saying, when I'm saying it's a vestige of what used to be
Yeah.
developed.
yeah, certainly
But-
not
but
trying to
for
add
what
those
better.
kind of.
But for what we have done in terms of encouraging the larger lot sizes in rural areas, you might still be seeing that.
all right, so it sounds like this meets all the requirements, so do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, I got a motion to approve, do I hear a second?
Okay. Second with
Okay.
conversation.
I got a motion and a second. Is there
Okay,
any
so-
discussion?
Hey, can I please interject?
Go ahead.
Yes.
I definitely apologize. Can we strike, for the record, the conditions that were applied by the staff? And just base it on what you all are.
What were the
About to approve.
conditions? Let me see.
'Cause right now, this is going a different, it's going
What
to
were this- yeah.
different direction.
Yeah,
Can
what were the
you
conditions?
refresh us with the staff recommendations?
I assume the motion was to approve it with staff conditions, but,
There are 2 extraneous staff recommendations that need to.
One needs to be stricken from the record, and based on our discussion here, number 4 also needs to be taken out, where we said interior roads shall be installed with the recommendations from the Board of Commissioners.
See, I like that recommendation. I'm perfectly
know.
Well,
fine
that's
with
what
that.
needs to be,
We know.
Since that was a
discussed
staff
before you all-
recommendation.
following ordinance.
Yeah, let us hear what that sounds like.
Architectural prior to approval subdivision plot public hearing shall
There-
be.
there's
So which
no
one's, 4
cemetery.
needs to be gone?
there's no
What else?
cemetery, that needs to be taken out.
And
Oh,
So, no.
right, this was a copy paste from the,
That-
okay. So just to clarify what your motion was,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You see what I'm getting at,
Yeah,
though?
yeah, yeah. So
With the direction you all
your
were
motion
going.
was to approve it with the staff recommendations, number 1 and number 2.
correct.
Right.
Yes.
And that's your amended motion. Do I have a second on the amendment?
So we're not doing number 4?
No.
No, okay,
Right, because we're approving, all
okay. I'll second.
right. All right.
So,
So-
not call for the
May I ask,
question.
could we still have a little discussion for a
Sure.
second?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we do this with the idea of that we're going to come back and maybe have
Yes.
a plan of action? Should
course.
should we talk about that, what that looks like now?
What
What
I
is,
would ask y'all to do is give us directions on what you want to have. If you don't want to take time tonight, send us a list.
Okay.
That says, this
Probably
is
better to
like, and I know,
list.
I know from what you said, the possibility of what I would call a frontage road or increased road frontage requirements based upon physical characteristics of the road and the land.
Maybe
This is
distance
pretty
between
flat.
curb cuts, that kind of stuff.
just because something isn't a state road doesn't mean it acts as an arterial or a vein for us,
Right, right.
traffic-wise. I would like to hear more about what the rationale was for interior roads shall be installed with the recommendation from the Board of Commissioners.
I think it came from
That was-
information that was given to staff about this discussion.
Right, that was from previous discussion, that's why we added it in there.
What was, what came out of the board before us? Were these stipulations on that then?
We had one on the cemetery on Hardy Moore because it had a cemetery. There was no discussion last month on the Hardy Moore subdivision regarding interior roads.
But what did planning and zoning say about this particular item? The
This,
plan-
this doesn't have to go to P and Z because
Oh,
as a
straight up.
final plat, as a minor subdivision plat, it is allowed to come to you for approval under the subdivision regs without having to go through P and Z if it meets the criteria.
Procedural.
It's procedural.
Because-
Just
and
sounds
since
like
it
that was
meets all the current
created to work for somebody.
No,
guess, I don't know who.
No, I can assure you that wasn't the case, not for any particular person. It was intended to encourage, when it was added in, it was intended to encourage people
To
to
just
do
comply with.
larger lots. And it was giving them a break from some of the procedure if they presented a plat to staff that otherwise complied. I can assure you there was no particular individual that got a favor from that, Glenn.
And I know we're smart enough to catch it next time, I hope, but anytime somebody mentions interior roads, I think Bethany, and it comes back to home.
Yeah.
And like Jason Ridge up there off of Teeman, you know, they got the little cart paths that, I mean, they're, a car, you go through there, you scratch the side of your car going to a house. I just
What?
don't like them type interior roads.
If you were talking about an interior road, from what I'm hearing y'all say, you're talking about a road that meets county specifications and would be dedicated to the county. We're not talking about a Bethany Road driveway. That's the way, you agree with that, Charles? Like, for example, if you wanted a frontage road to have the driveways come off on it, there's probably a way to creatively to do cul-de-sacs. I'll defer to Mr. Spradlin, but, that would be part of the public road system, okay? That's what you want.
My last concern, a part of the discussion before we vote, is I don't think that, what was that, 7, 6, and 5 are close enough to current water sources there. So, as the developer, you understand that I think there's gonna be one more fire hydrant required in the center there in order to meet for, because they've got to be 500 feet away. Maybe 6 would meet it, but I don't know if 7's gonna get all the way there with like its closest one, because it's, the closest one is above it, like above the property.
The water authority policy is
It's 500.
500 feet for new construction.
Yeah, so as long as, and it's 500 feet from the property line,
500 feet
from the
from the,
structure?
where it is on the right of way.
Okay. Well, then, they might not need that. But that's not,
And all of that would be reviewed by staff.
okay, I just don't want them to be surprised when that part comes up. We're not dealing with that tonight.
So are you making that a part of the condition, is that fire hydrants will be 500 feet apart in compliance with the water authority standard?
Well, I mean, I don't
He said it is.
think we have to. I think that's.
Is that
another
standard?
That would
thing
be,
have
that
to
would be
apply.
standard,
It's standard.
standard review.
Yeah. I just didn't want them to blindside them, that they need to understand that that's also coming. All right, any further discussion before we vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving this with staff conditions number 1 and number 2, not number 3 and number 4, raise your hands. All right, all opposed? All right, 3-1, passes.
But we will, the direction I'm hearing is that staff is to come back with modifications to minor subdivision requirements to address your road access issues,
Yeah,
correct?
and maybe even providing some options, you know, access road style or, you know, cul-de-sac style.
And this definitely needs to be done prior to the next application.
Well, how do you know that's not gonna be
Ideally,
tomorrow?
He's
ideally,
saying
you got all
pretty
that free
well.
time, right, Charles?
We don't,
Yeah, it could
All
happen
right.
tomorrow. It could be
new-
I'm not mad at
5 in the
moratorium,
next
I'm not
week.
mad at that.
Yeah,
Really,
moratorium.
honestly.
Yeah, if not, it's a moratorium.
Yeah.
New business. Consider the appeal for Nash Foods owner Shaznaz Matani. The appeal is in regard to the denial of their alcohol license due to not meeting the distance requirements. Mr. Roots.
Yes,
There we are.
this application has come before the commissioners because, based on our code, it has to, no sale of liquor can be within 300 feet,
Of a
feet
residence.
of a residence. The state code only mentions, correct me if I'm wrong, Newton, state code only mentions 300, well, the distance against public schools, churches, what have you. Doesn't mention, what,
Not churches anymore, it only does schools.
yeah, right, that was recent, right. But the point is, it doesn't mention dwellings. But our code does. Our code does. And so it was a recommendation of staff, instead of this going before the Board of Zoning Appeals, to go before the Board of Commissioners, for you all consider this particular request. And what this is an appeal against the criteria of 300 feet.
They're looking to sell beer and wine, not liquor. They're looking for a beer and wine.
I apologize, beer and wine, yes.
If you look at this intersection here, just to the north of that, like the northwest corner, there's another little convenience store there.
Who is very upset about this happening?
Well, but they sell beer and liquor. I mean, beer and
Yeah,
wine.
but I think
right?
he's upset about.
No, this is different. That used to be Varnado's there. Varnado's is like,
Barnabas,
gone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was a store
But there's-
directly across the street.
Oh,
This is the
this is
convenience
one block north. I thought this was that new gas
Yeah,
station.
no.
They're reopening that.
Correct.
Okay, so
I
I'm
see.
thinking something different now.
Okay.
I think I am.
And this guy,
think same
here,
thing.
he bought this store, since it was close to the, reservoir. He was gonna sell bait, well, they drained the reservoir, and now the only thing he's got to rely on is the beer sales there. He's got a petition signed by
250
two or three,
plus.
a bunch of folks, for it.
And it's all the neighborhood folks.
Yes, yeah.
That sounds like me.
I walked in there one day, he didn't know who I was, he's like, he said, "This is what I got going on." I said, "No," I said, I'm your county commissioner, I'm not getting involved with it."
I should probably not
And
say
that's So that's how I got to know about the whole situation.
So wait a minute, to make sure, this is not the place that's where the United Bank area is gonna be? It's not that area, okay?
Yeah, I was thinking
Where's the
16
United
and
Bank
Vaughn.
supposed to be?
Where that,
16.
yeah, 16 and, where was the
And
Tell
Vaughn,
Road?
yeah. The road was at Helen Vaughn.
Here lies the conundrum, though. The folks that are complaining are the ones that are directly affected by this request. He has 250 that would love to have that service, but the residents is only a little over 150 feet from.
So,
Is that resident
is that the
complaining?
most direct route? I mean, because, you know, I can draw a straight line from here to the Welcome Center, but I can't actually get there unless I walk all the way out here, up there, or if I walk all the way out here. So it says here, we're addressing this based on the most direct route, not as the crow flies.
That's correct, but one of the considerations that I took a look at again this afternoon with respect to how to measure the distance. The distance comes from the front door to the closest conveyance. From that conveyance, you have to legally walk the conveyance across a legal crosswalk of the roadway, and then follow that conveyance to the front door of the house.
That's why I'm looking at this and it's
Yeah.
not doing that.
It is not doing that. I did not pull a Google map to understand exactly how far that was, but the way that I understand the law, and I'm asking for my counsel to help me with this, but the way I understand the law, if you do the conveyance route, it's much farther than the 142.7 feet that is currently listed, because that is calculating straight line distance.
So, and it's clear in here that when we did this, and unfortunately, I was here when we did this, I think Newton was too. For purposes of this code section, distance shall be measured by the most direct route of travel on the ground. So these are clearly as the crow flies, so I just think that these need to, not that, that's saying that we should appeal it, but I think we need better measurements. Because if you've got to go to the intersection and then go down and get across the street or go across the street, that's distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really
Yeah.
know these people, but I'm just saying, this is kind of what we've done in the past, and we clearly, in those minutes, did not say that we were talking about as the crow flies.
To the
So,
front door.
Well, it's, your distance measurement
driveway?
is set out in 6-1009. And
that's 300 feet, right?
for 300 feet, that's correct. And the reason it's coming to you as an appeal is because Mr. Reese looked at, in his office, looked at the application, made a determination that it was not 300 feet from the adjoining residence.
Who did that?
Charles.
Charles issued a letter to the applicant to tell them that, and then advised them of the ability to bring an appeal to you. And this appeal comes directly to you.
Okay.
So, now, I will tell you, because we've talked about this extensively this afternoon, I am not aware, you know, Stephanie is usually involved in more of the license issues than I am, but I am not aware of any authority to grant a variance for the 300-foot distance requirement. And I'm not aware that y'all have granted a
We
variance
haven't.
before. So,
So,
if he's within 300 feet, then he does not meet the requirements to get the license.
Well, I agree with that. I don't really believe that even if we do straight line to the corner and down, that is gonna equal, I mean, I'm just a stick person. The length of the line that you say is 142 and one's 151, they're not gonna have that much more distance to 300.
That was.
yeah, if,
We agree.
In all reality, I would have rather that what we're using as evidence actually reflected what the real number would be.
What the real number is.
yeah, can we thus table this so you can go and measure it as opposed to crow fly and to conveyance, to corner, to crosswalk, you know what I'm saying, like, as it's supposed to be? Is that,
I mean,
because I pulled it up on Google Earth here, and I've just done a little measuring tool, and this is super not exact, right? So, but even if you don't use sort of the entrance on Vaughn, if you use the entrance on West McIntosh, and then go down to the property line and then over to the house, it's at 350 foot. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
James,
So-
you asked, can you table it? The answer is yes, and direct Mr. Reese to tell him to get us an exact measurement according to the way you want it measured.
Motion to table.
Second.
Could you also make a part of that motion, if you don't mind, for staff to reconsider the alcohol ordinance to comply with current state law?
Absolutely.
well,
And
we'll
why?
just consensusly direct them to do that as opposed to
Yeah.
making that part of the table.
Doc-
Yeah,
You have that
and
consensus.
the reason for it is because state law actually changed in 2018 and took away the restrictions for distance for beer and wine sales. Matter of fact, you can sell beer and wine inside of the church now if you so desire.
Okay.
Dr. Ledbetter, you actually took my thunder. 'Cause I was going to suggest that, or what we discussed earlier in our discussion with Newton, a text amendment that would, that would address this as well. But yeah, that's an even better
So-
suggestion.
I'm gonna say to you guys that when we created this ordinance, it wasn't because we were all Bible thumpers up here.
Right,
The
right.
people that came here about these things didn't want them close to their churches, didn't want them close to the schools, and we had a bunch of people who were grandfathered in just because they were already there. Or we've had people that come in for a license for a church and say, I am aware that there's already someone selling alcohol near us, and we still want to be there. So, and I think also that we were able to make our recommendations more stringent. We had the base for the state, but we added 300 feet instead of 100 feet from a school or
had
something
the
like that.
authority
So
to do
this
that.
is, I mean, I think we can't just look at this carte blanche and say, let's do what the state says, because if you look down at North Hill Street where the traffic circle was, at one point, there were 4 places there that were selling alcohol
Wow.
in that one little area. And so, neighborhoods are not wanting, just because you can get a
Right, right, right.
building for you to be able to have alcohol in that. And so that's part of the reason behind why we came up with these. So I don't know what the state law says, but I think we really need to do a deep dive to see, do we want to loosen things up?
Well, certainly putting a provision in that says you can get an appeal for it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can get a variance for it. Right now, we don't have the ability to do that.
Well, no, I think
You know
if
what
you're
I'm saying,
gonna
like-
give a variance to anybody, you set precedent, which means that you've gotta do it for the next person, or you set yourself up.
Correct.
Commissioner Flowers Taylor, would you agree with the possibility of you all making a decision of limiting the number of liquor stores in the vicinity, in the area?
That's probably wise to do.
I
think
honestly
so.
would, because, in the neighborhoods, several.
It's for many
what was I
reasons.
saying? Yeah, in my district, there are lots of places where there's an inundation of places that are selling alcohol within, close to residential homes, some existing, but yeah, I just don't think you need 4 places to sell alcohol in the flat.
Well, and I think
And then 2 up at the top of the hill.
it kind of stinks the growth of the community too. I don't think when people
So-
want to
so,
come here,
yeah,
they're not
we-
gonna
You
come.
have to base that on a legal reason, like public safety, like.
Well, that's
that
why
was
we
really
said
creating
it.
an issue in the flats, like.
Right, people
and-
standing around, people urinating
Right.
outside, drinking on the street. And
But I mean, like,
But it hinders development.
if
Yeah.
Walmart's selling alcohol, Applebee's selling alcohol, blah, 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 you know, like, but there isn't these public safety concerns. So it's not necessarily, hey, you can't do it within so many, but like, you can't if there's a public safety concern. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But I don't think
this
we're,
is
I
a
don't
workshop.
But we're not considering restaurants. We're talking about just actually.
but yeah, I'm
liquor
just using
stores.
that as like
Yeah.
You know, but that's different. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But we have a motion to table, and there is no discussion on motions to table, so.
And I
all
have,
in
and I
favor-
already seconded.
Yeah, yeah. All in favor of tabling, raise your hands.
So,
All in favor of not tabling? All against? Okay. 3-1, it is tabled.
I ain't being a rebel.
He wants to do it tonight.
My only question would be to Dr. Steve, that if there is a denomination that is serving liquor at church, since the Methodist Church is splitting, I might be interested in getting information on that if there's one in
They have
Greenwood.
a pretty stone building right here in town.
I don't think of anybody right here did.
I may be looking to make a
I
change.
don't
and
know,
that
I
could
ain't
be
been
an
in no,
incentive.
no, other than wine at communion.
Yeah, and that's a church. It's on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because we have the real stuff on Sundays.
wow.
They're Saxon.
I'll be there next month.
Serve alcohol is the wrong way to.
We have the real stuff.
Okay, all right.
Not much is,
Now we're moving into other business. Consider selecting an aquatic center management company based on post-RFP summary. Mrs. Carmen.
Good evening, and thank you for your time in hearing our further review of our aquatic facility management proposals. Just to recap, we had an RFP to manage our aquatic center. We received 3 bidders. We conducted 3 interviews, and we presented you with our first presentation. And you've asked us to come back. You had further questions, and so we conducted further review of the companies. We sent them the questions that you had, and we have created, if you could find this.
Okay, they're reading this right now. You want me to?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a hard copy now.
I've created a Cliff Notes for you, because that's a lot of reading. So,
It's almost at the bottom. Nope, it's on the.
please
literally
going,
way down.
please keep
Way
going,
down.
this is what it looks like. Saving you a lot of time.
We appreciate it, Kel.
Oh, that was
Okay,
it.
there
Yes,
you
the very
go.
bottom there, right.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this briefly with you to make a couple of highlights. As you can see, we wanted to know what comps are they using? Do they have facilities in Georgia locally? What are their relationships? And that gave us, TJ and I, a good stepping off point to go visit some sites as well. United Pools has some Georgia facilities. Aquatic Management also does. StandGuard, we found, had 1 pool facility in a senior center, and the others are California and Texas. StandGuard, for question number 2, StandGuard had already conducted a market study based on census data and aquatic management. They used market research and based their fees on rural Georgia indoor facilities. And United Pools plans on conducting an additional market study. They want to come here and conduct it more personally, locally. However, the information and the fees that they present are from some of their facilities that they manage here in Georgia. Moving to number 3. One of your questions was regarding family package fees. United Pools figures based on current customer fees. Aquatic Management is based on indoor facilities in Georgia and are proposing those fees. StandGuard, this is after their market study. These are the fees that they would charge. Let's give you a quick second.
Is that, that third column, is that an annual or a monthly charge? $439 a month for a family of 4?
There's gotta be annual.
Which column, I'm sorry?
The third column over.
StandGuard? Yes, those are a year.
Okay.
Makes sense.
For individuals, vary between, excuse me, $3 to $5 per visit, upcharging to $8 to $10 for out of county. The information we received from StandGuard was basically water park numbers, so $20 per person admission. There wasn't really a good comp for us to relate to the facility we have for them. Individuals age 12 to 64, $6 a visit from United Pools compared to $5 a visit for Aquatic Management. 65 and over, $4 a visit as opposed to $3 a visit, and et cetera. One of the unique things I found United Pools offered is a 10-visit punch card that you can come in, and it makes it more affordable. When you come in, they punch a card, and they can come as frequently as they want or spread out their visits.
What's OOC, Kelly?
Out of county. On question number 4, does your partner charge higher fees for non-residents? United Pools and Aquatic Management both will, and StandGuard does not recommend it. Number 5. This was one of your questions regarding swim teams. I wanted to bring back to you that the Griffin Gators paid $30 per month per swimmer, and they swam for 3 months. If we were to work that out to a year, it would be $36,000 in revenue there for our old. These are old numbers from Griffin Gators. So having $40 per swimmer per month is reasonable. And the others would do lane per lane. So it's difficult to transfer that and compare that, except estimating they would probably use 8 lanes for 2 hours, maybe 3 days a week for 52 weeks. That would be $120,000 for Aquatic Management. Let's see. Let's jump down to number 7. How does your agency structure more personalized services? So basically one-on-one swim lessons, etc. So they basically charge, for example, they'll have a tiered pricing structure with county feedback, premium cost for more individualized services. Aquatic Management, I didn't really see that they answered the question we asked. And then again, StandGuard, the higher personal instruction, they would increase the cost as well. Question number 8, if you'll scroll down that a little bit more. To me, it appears United Pools answered that most comprehensively, listing the many program opportunities that they would provide in the facility. Aquatic management mentioned individual lessons in therapeutic recreation. Standguard mentions skills training, arthritis classes, swim lessons, and they would schedule an entire day of programming in each pool. Number 9. Do you, you had a question regarding, do you have contractors that you would have to go ahead and plug in to programming? United Pools, because they operate a lot of programming and they have a lot of local partners,
Yeah, they're in Clayton. They run Clayton's and Peachtree Cities, right?
they're ready to go. They
They can
have
pull people from both of those sites. Wow.
aquatic management. They have contractors and partners with locations and would engage them in Spalding County as well. And Standguard said no, they're, not local, so they would have to start from scratch in developing those local partners. Number 10, do you plan on partnering with area providers, healthcare providers? United Pools is doing that already in facilities that they're currently managing. Aquatic management said yes, they would work in the therapeutic areas and would partner with local professionals and providers. And then Standguard also would look towards developing those relationships. Number 11, outlining a 12-year-old and under swim program, which also was one of your questions. Actually, United Pools and Standguard basically answered that question the same way, and I believe they're offering the very same American Red Cross Learn to Swim program. And then aquatic management, their answer was $65 per participant per session. They didn't fully answer that question. And finally, question number 12, how would they engage the Green Industrial Park? They all answered that they would definitely plug into our industrial partners and work to engage them in the facility, sponsorships, special sponsorship opportunities that offers benefits to their employees, et cetera. All of them answered number 13 as far as when, how would you market the facility? They all would use all of the resources that we all use. One, I was intrigued, United Pools wanted to plug into local events and have a booth and immerse themselves into the community and let the community get to know them. And when would they start
And
charging?
they tend to be a little bit more digitalized too, it looks like here, if I'm looking through there.
Yes.
As far as their advertisements.
Yes.
I've noticed the other two have not, but keep
And
going.
if you want young folks, that's the way to do it.
Yes. And 14, if you're awarded this contract and propose charging Spalding County a monthly fee, when would you begin charging? They all basically said that they would start at the time that we would open the doors and start operating. Standguard, their RFP had no monthly fee to Spalding County. They, as we presented at the last session, they said that there will be no cost to Spalding County, but we had voiced concern about their revenues projection was much higher, and I do want to go over that briefly with you. The second part of our review, TJ and I went personally to 3 facilities. We talked with staff. We wanted to get to know how the relationships and operations work, just to get a better understanding. And we learned a lot. We learned that it's not just giving the key and saying, here, do it. There will be employee involvement on a daily basis. Maybe not so much because we're an indoor facility. I know they all have said they would have to have a dedicated manager in the building, and that's our expectation. This will not be a manager who floats between facilities. They will be dedicated because they've got to manage the staff, the programming, the scheduling, the revenues,
I
promoting.
thought that's what they're doing.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about.
They're
Oh, I
all,
thought you were saying our staff would have to be there.
She's talking
well,
about each one of these.
we will also have to have someone in recreation staff to be engaged and involved.
But I think you were talking about before, the dedicated person, it would be them.
Oversight of how things operate. And we would expect that because it's our building and we want to see how things are going. As everyone gets more accustomed to this, I imagine we can step back a little bit. But in the beginning, we will be shadowing, basically, because we want to learn the operations as well. And be able to answer your questions when we get the phone call, okay? We, based on our interviews, and we had an opportunity to look at some numbers from a facility that is similar to ours. And I want to point back to when we originally, this project came to be a SPLOST project. It was never said that this project would operate as a wash or as have revenue above our costs. It was always presented, and I recall TJ coming up here and saying, this will cost the county to operate. And we found that to be true from our neighbors. So there is a cost to operate this. And there will be opportunity to, whoever you select, to meet with them and negotiate some things within the contract. If we wanted to say, we don't want to receive the gate, we want that to go to reducing the county's liability and their costs per contract, we'll be able to do that. A important note, TJ was at a state meeting yesterday, and those facilities, the three largest facilities in the state of Georgia that have indoor aquatic facilities, natatoriums, and outdoor summer amenities, the 3 months of summer makes up for 60% of their revenues. That tells us a lot. So the indoor operating, the lane swimming, the 8 lanes that we're going to be providing for the swim teams, et cetera, and anybody that wants to come, that's not going to be our moneymaker. Our moneymaker is going to be the programming pool, and our neighbor, one of our neighbors, that programming pool is booked, completely booked. So I feel confident that we have one that's rising to the surface. That, to be honest, it does come to communication, working relationship, reputation, and I believe we have one that does rise to the top.
In experience, it looks like.
So-
Experience.
So I
Absolutely.
guess when I'm thinking back to, like, at Gordon, I get their adult education thing every year. So over the summer, they had a swim program that was 6 weeks. And it was like $150 for a 1-hour session once a week. So all these suggestions are way above that in terms of providing swimming lessons. And it sounds significantly larger than what they were paying for rent. The swim team was paying for rent out at Gordon.
$10 per child
For
per month.
For the swim
difference
team?
For swim team.
Okay.
For just the entrance or for like renting the lanes?
Because I thought I heard you say something else.
So Griffin Gators was at $30 per swimmer per month.
And that was unlimited swimming or what?
That's swim team time. That's swim team usage.
Okay.
At City Park.
That was at City Park.
City Park.
That's correct. So when you go to,
Yeah, because
So what were they paying at Gordon?
Gordon was $50,
A month?
yes.
Per swimmer.
And we're saying $40, I hear you say that?
And we said here
They said 40 to 55.
$40 for United Pools, aquatic management, which the United Pools based on 100 swimmers would be 48,000. Aquatic management based on an estimated times of swimming per year, 120,000 is what that would come to. And that is a per lane. So there may be some, they may not need the full lanes. We just don't know the answer to those questions yet. And it's important to know that we cannot sign our name to the numbers will be these numbers. We have
These are the
to,
estimates.
we don't have any history. We don't have any history to base our figures on.
Yeah,
Just
that's
our-
the scariest part of
Our
it.
neighbors.
So what's Leisure Services' recommendation?
Based on the original submitted RFP, based on interview, based on references, based on responsiveness to everything that we have submitted, the quality of what was presented, the completeness, the attention to detail, I would have to recommend United Pools.
That's my read from this too. Like the difference here is marked.
And Steve, as far as funding, we can afford this?
No. I can answer that for you.
Ma'am,
Okay. Okay.
there is an option to afford it, but
We don't know that that's.
we don't know that that's an option yet. It'll be
Okay.
presented to you in the next week, few weeks.
So this is basically just to give us the, we're not doing anything tonight with this.
It would be good to go ahead and consider the request from staff, because the company is going to need,
Time to gear up.
they're going to need 60 to 90 days to be able to find the 40 lifeguards that are going to be required. I believe you saw the pictures from this week where we are getting very close to the substantial completion of this facility. And we are hearing that they will be substantially complete with our new aquatic center just before Christmas. So we're
You
on a
really
very.
believe that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I was out there 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
They're pulling
You're
wire
talking-
for electrical this week.
Okay, so
They're prepping for paving for parking lot.
Yes, ma'am.
you're
Yeah,
asking,
but there's no walls up.
Yes.
That is dramatically changing.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah,
They're
the walls-
bricking the
walls are-
front.
The building's being bricked as we speak.
Yeah. I'm-
Dried in, completely
I'm-
dried in.
I'm really concerned that they're
Interior?
gonna be there before, that we're gonna take substantial completion right at Thanksgiving.
so I guess that's what I'm asking.
I see.
What, do we have a plan? I mean, as far as, I mean, we're looking at this tonight.
That's why you got this paper right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what that paper right there is about.
I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do tonight then. I'm not sure what the intention is.
They want us to pick one of these three.
I mean, to
think
do
the
what
obvious
then?
choice
To
is
do
United.
what?
If
'Cause we-
if you pick one of these three, we're able to go sit down and have a good conversation with them concerning what the actual dollar figures are going to be. We need to bring this down from 3 to 1, so that we can go and have a good conversation with one management team. Does that mean that you're going to approve the contract tonight? Absolutely not. We
Okay,
do not
that's what
have
my
a
question there
contract
was.
tonight.
Okay.
That's right.
We will need to go into negotiation with a contract
Okay.
and bring that document back to you for consideration.
All
But
right.
we do need a consensus, or at least consensus. I
All right.
would really ask you to vote on moving forward with just one company at this point, so we can have the discussion that we need to have.
My read is United Pools. They do Peachtree Cities 2 and Clayton County's 3. They have the experience, just, they're the ones that have clearly risen to the top, no pun intended, of this, like, the breakouts here, but if y'all have different opinions.
Well, this is what I kind of suggest, and I do think they should be one of them. I think we should narrow this down from 3 to 2. I think we should have at least 2, that we are actually looking at, maybe come back with some cost. Yeah, I mean, I can see, based on what I'm reading about United Pools, absolutely. But it's always good to kind of have a second.
Because we're seeing all this, but we're not looking back at the other paper where we were gonna pay them $1 million, and then They got
Yeah.
70% of the gate, and we
It's
only
in
got
there.
30.
It's in our attachments.
Well, I'm just saying, that's the picture we were looking at last time. Now, you drilled in, but taking this information that we got tonight and going back and looking at what they said it was gonna cost, and our share was going to cost, you know, whether they're gonna take the whole 100%, they're gonna do 60-40, which I think somebody 70-30. Yeah,
So what I don't want, because you're talking about the time being of the essence now, you're saying this is possibly gonna be ready by Thanksgiving or what have you. We focus on United Pools, let's say we're like,
And it doesn't work
okay,
out, and
you know,
we don't have to
it just
wait
kinda
for
gives us some time to kinda look at another,
Absolutely.
a plan B, just to kinda look comparison to
Could,
both.
could you, could you frame the motion to say, we're leaning toward United as number one, and
we choose another two,
whichever the
yes.
second is,
Yes.
and afford staff to go and have very
Yes.
strong conversation with both of them?
Yes, we can do
So
that.
then maybe then the next discussion is which one are
Which
we
is-
not interested in? And to me, that is also another obvious choice. That's Stangard.
Okay.
They seem to give some bizarre answers to some of these, and that level of communication is troubling already. And if
So-
we're troubling at this point.
The first two, United Pools and,
United Pools is sort of our top
and
choice.
who's the other one? It was
Aquatic management is our
Aquatic
sort of
management.
second choice.
We look at those.
Yeah, and then they know that we have a different option. Hey, if you're not
Exactly.
negotiating like we want you to, okay, we'll
Here
go.
we've got
These
another.
guys will. So,
May I
Please.
add a note? Going back to their original proposal monthly fee, or annual fee, when you work out the annual, United Pools, annual cost to provide management of the aquatic center was $463,280. And aquatic management was at $500,000 a year.
Okay, say that again.
478
Okay.
and 500,000.
463,280 and
Right.
500,000.
Okay.
500.
and what was that cost share?
580.
580.
580.
They were roughly the same in cost share. Like they were
Okay.
different, a little bit different in different things, but it all kind of washed out. To me, and I don't know what the will of the board in general is, but to me as well, I think if they get the lion's share of the gate, if not all of the gate, and lower our specific cost, that incentivizes them to get more people in the door. And so we'd get more usage out of it that way and lower our sort of fixed cost.
We've had those
So-
models.
Friendly competition is good.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
Like,
yes.
I think, I'd rather it be, you know, hey, what if we gave you 20% more of the door? You know, I think it was like a 70-30 split.
Yeah.
What if we gave you only took 10% just so we can check how much is coming to the door to lower our upfront, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be
Aquatic management was 90/10,
90-10.
and then United Pools was 70/30.
Wow, so they were cheaper and gave us a bigger,
Now, the
Correct.
gate, they said the gate all comes to the county, both of them.
all comes to the county?
The gate. So that is like your daily swimmer. The 70/30 and the 90/10 was from special programming.
Right.
Okay, I don't know, what's the difference?
So like the entrance fee versus like a special.
I'm
hey,
signed
gonna
up
pay $100
for arthritis swim,
yeah,
Or swim lessons.
or swim lessons or whatever.
or water yoga,
Right, they get 90% of that?
90/10.
That was aquatic.
Kind of a guarantee.
And it was
and a
70-30.
We're gambling on the gate money and the others guarantee people sign up.
Yeah, but both of them said 100% of just the
gate.
walk up, pay your $5 to get in comes to us.
Yes.
See, I'd be willing to
I
give
just
up
don't know what
that
else
completely
we can
to lower
ask
our-
them for quote-wise.
Yeah,
They presented a financial proposal with their RFP. We sent them additional questions to get more, and then we sent another set of questions. I really don't know what else
well,
I need to ask them.
in the contract negotiation, you could go and say, hey, you're projecting $100,000 in gate revenue. I mean, I'm making this number up. I mean, I think it's in there, but I don't have time to go and grab their specific number. Like, would you thus lower what from the 463 to 363, and then you get all of the gate. And then again, that incentivizes them to get more people in, and as opposed to putting that on us. And if that's what they think they're going to get, revenue-wise, that's what they're going to collect from the gate, then like, great, go collect it, and you keep it all, and then we don't have to do like weird monthly payments and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I mean, they might say, no, we're not doing that, and but again, I think there is some wiggle room in these. You know what I mean?
We're in the wiggle room phase right now. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I think it's what we need to do.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
so
okay.
so that's the consensus. I don't think we're getting a motion or anything, but like
Just
the
so I
consensus
guess
is United Pools is the first and aquatic management as the second.
We come back.
Go forth with that and do what you will.
I like that.
All right. Does anybody
That
want
way
to
we're
make a motion
that way
about
we're
it?
sure about
Okay.
that. Do we need a motion?
All right. TJ,
Yes, sir.
President
Thank you,
TJ,
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Chairman, thank you.
acting chairman.
I do want to remind you and recall on the original information that we gave you last time, that there will be some purchases that will be required that equals $61,500. Fire extinguishers, that kind of stuff that was not in the contract. And
Initial chemicals, that kind of thing, or is that in addition?
office furnishings, tables,
yeah.
chairs, AEDs, security cameras, janitorial supplies, and fire extinguishers.
Everything that's not part of the building but goes in the building.
That's correct. And then I also would hate to bring this up, may or may not get in trouble for this, but irregardless if there's an operation contract, the day we get the keys, our bills will start on the building itself.
Yeah.
So there will be, that $330,000 that we indicated is irregardless if there's a contractor running the building or not.
That's another
Yeah.
reason why we're doing what we're doing right now.
That's correct.
Right.
We're actually doing it with the time
Yes.
required in order to get us into
Right.
position. With the change orders that have come through, because they have been negative on the change orders, so we're still sitting at about $9.25 million. There is enough room in the contract that you awarded, the 10 million, to account for that $61,000
Okay.
incidental
Yeah.
fees that TJ just just requested.
What's
So we do have the money.
61,000?
Excuse me?
For like
For
all the equipment that goes in.
equipment, the fire extinguishers and the AEDs and some of the furniture.
Yeah, even desks. Yeah, FF&E is not in the original contract.
Correct.
Or
It's
some
not in the
of the
original
The,
contract of
the lockers in the
construction.
locker room, that kind of stuff.
Lockers are in there.
Lockers.
There's stuff that's not.
Hey, one.
system is also in it.
Right.
I'm glad I just reminded myself of that. The places we toured in Greenville all said rent lockers, rent lockers, rent lockers. That's a huge source of revenue for them.
They're in there.
Okay,
They're
so that's
already
part
in
of this
the
too?
contract
That's
price.
correct.
Okay,
That's
because
good.
all of them were like, dude,
They,
yeah,
they propose locker fees.
okay. And yeah, and again, who gets that split or whatever, that's all.
It's them.
So whatever happened to us, talking to the school system about providing the blocks for the racing and the clock and all that stuff?
So I had a
Oh,
conversation with the school superintendent today, and we are scheduled to meet next week for not only that consideration, but for the school system to actually be a part of the annual maintenance costs
I
for
think
the
that's
facility.
wonderful.
And then we could kind of get them to brand some of that stuff, the clocks on the wall, Spalding County Schools, that kind of thing, because that way it feels more like a home turf situation when there's a swim meet,
Yeah, I had a conversation, a very good conversation
point.
with Dr.
Good
Simmons
needs.
today about a lot of that, and we have scheduled tentatively for a follow-up meeting next week to understand what the dollar figures are gonna be.
So my understanding when they discussed this in the past was that was supposed to equal some reduction in what it's gonna cost them or the availability of them being able to use the facility.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So, yeah, I think it's more than enough time for us to be having that discussion,
Yeah.
if that's what it's gonna be, because it may very well make a difference in what it is we figure out for the final contract for whoever's gonna provide the services.
Yes, ma'am.
So, just asking.
One little, special thing, that we, in choosing the flag colors and the line markers and all of that, we did choose Spalding color and Griffin colors.
Nice, nice.
They both have a home turf.
Pairs.
Are they putting any money into this? Talk about Griffin. City of Griffin, that is.
No, Griffin High, the Bears,
Well,
of course.
still, okay.
Green and gold.
Okay, and the Board of Education is anteing up, you're saying, basically.
We're talking about it.
Okay. Well, we need to have all that too, so.
All right, anybody else have anything for the good of the
No.
order? All right, hearing none.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? All right, all opposed, y'all can stay here.
Yeah.
All right,
Did you really
And I
oppose
just-
adjournment?
Steve, real
No,
quick.
no, she was just late, voting.
No, I was late voting to adjourn.
Okay, I'm
Steve,
sorry.
Steve, I mean, we'll get about the gymnasium, bids. Are we close to maybe reviewing those, or have y'all reviewed them? or-
September,
Okay, we gotta wait out.
yeah.
Okay.
We're getting bids.
Yeah,
So-
okay, I think you said, all right. Gwen, I'll see you shortly.
Okay. Kathy, here's your paper.
Name and everything, you know.
Did you know they changed the law to sell beer inside the church?